Welcome back everyone to my channel. Today, I am going to discuss the foreign assets reporting, and I am going to show you on how to use the FinCEN website in filing your foreign bank account reports. All right, let's dive in. So let's have a review of foreign assets. We will compare the IRS Form 8938 and the foreign bank account compliance. So the reporting obligations, we need to understand the distinct requirements for the statement of specified foreign financial assets. That's the Form 8938, the FATCA compliance, and the report of foreign bank and financial accounts, the FBAR compliance, which is reported through FinCEN. So who must file? Form 8938 is filed with the Internal Revenue Service. So those specified individuals, which are U.S. citizens, resident aliens, and certain non-resident aliens, including entities, are required to file Form 8938. What are those entities? Certain domestic corporations, partnerships, and trusts with interest in specified assets. What about the Form 114 FinCEN FBAR? If you are a U.S. person, which is defined that includes U.S. citizens, resident aliens, trusts, estates, and domestic entities. The filing focus for FBAR focuses on those with interest in foreign financial accounts exceeding the threshold. So the Form 8938 excludes U.S. territories. So this Form 8938 does not extend to territorial holdings. On the other hand, the foreign bank account includes U.S. territories. So any resident aliens and entities in territories must report. So what are the thresholds for Form 8938? The thresholds depends on the filing status of the taxpayer and whether that taxpayer lives in the U.S. or outside the U.S. So for unmarried individual or married filing separately, if they are living in the United States, the threshold is $50,000 on the last day or $75,000 at the highest. For married filing jointly, that doubles up to $100,000 for the last day or $150,000 at peak. For a specified domestic entity, that's same as the unmarried individual, $50,000 for the last day or $75,000 at peak. For individuals living outside the United States, for unmarried individual or married filing separately status, that's $200,000 on the last day and $300,000 at peak. So for married filing jointly, living outside the U.S., that doubles up to $400,000 on the last day and $600,000 at peak. The 8938 is only required to be filed by specified domestic entity. So obviously, the threshold does not apply to entities outside the U.S. because they don't need to file 8938. What about the foreign bank account filing threshold? As you guys know already, it is a 10,000 aggregate account value. So if you have two accounts with a combined peak balance of $10,001, both must be reported. We also need to understand what interests mean in relation to this reporting. So for Form 8938, interest exists if income gains must be reflected on your income tax return. The foreign bank account includes signature authority or control over disposition or financial interest. which is a legal title. And reporting is required for accounts in institutions physically located in foreign countries. So that's how you determine interest. What about reporting and valuation? Well, those foreign currency needs to be converted to US dollars using the end of taxable year exchange rate. Okay? The maximum value, you have to use periodic account statements to determine the maximum values in the currency of the account before conversion. So technically, you need to be looking in your bank statements, for example, every month and pick up the highest value during those months for the full year. The critical filing deadlines. Please note, Form 8938 is filed and attached with your Form 1040. So it is due on the date of the return, including extensions. FBAR is filed separately from your tax return. It is filed with FinCEN. It is due April 15, but it has an automatic extension to October 15. Penalty structure. Form 8938 failure up to 10,000 for initial failure. Additional 10,000 per 30 days of non-filing after IRS notice, which can potentially reach maximum of 60,000 penalties. In relation to FBAR violation, there are significant court cases that's affecting how these penalties are calculated. But for non-willful, it's up to 10,000. And for willful, it is up to the greater of 100,000 or 50% of account balances. These are the amounts that was put in the instructions with the IRS. But like what I said, there are developments on court cases that change or can change these amounts of penalties in relation to FBAR. So what are the reportable asset types? All right, so for example, a foreign stocks held in account, it is reportable in both Form 8938 and FBAR. For foreign stocks not in investment account, it is included in Form 8938, but it doesn't need to be reported in FBAR. What about foreign mutual funds? It is reportable in Form 8938 and also in FBAR. What about foreign partnership interest? It is reportable in Form 8938, but not in FBAR. What about direct foreign real estate? These are not reportable in either Form 8938 or FBAR. All right, so if you have any questions, you can actually have a look on the instructions on the irs.gov on Form 8938 and in FinCEN.gov for the FBAR. So now that you're aware of the differences between the Form 8938 and FBAR filing requirements, it's time to gather your financial information for you to be able to do your FBAR filing using the FinCEN website. Make sure you have all the information to all of your bank accounts that you own separately. Includes the joint accounts, investment accounts, your superannuation or pensions, and any accounts that you have a signature authority. If your child is also a US person, you need to make sure that you also check your child's bank accounts, their education savings, any accounts opened by relatives. Are there any joint accounts or investment accounts under the child's name? Don't forget to gather also the financial information to all foreign accounts relating to your company accounts, trust accounts, partnership accounts, or any signature authority that you have in any companies or entities that you own or control. So list down all the foreign accounts, investments, superannuation, pension, and their account numbers, bank address, joint owner name if applicable. What is the type of ownership? Is it separately owned, jointly, or just a signature authority? Pick up the highest value during the year and then convert that foreign currency value to US dollar using the December 31 US Treasury rates. For 2025, for example, the December 31 US Treasury rates for Australian dollar is 1.495. So if your foreign account is in AUD, you need to divide the highest value by 1.495, and the result is the US dollar value that you needed to report in your FBAR. Now that you have all the information that you need for your FBAR filing, I'm going to show you the FinCEN website where you're going to do all the data input in relation to those information. All right, let's do it. All right, so you need to go to the BSE filing system website. So you need to type bsefiling.fincen.gov, and it had to be the official website. So you have two choices when filing as an individual. You can either download the PDF, but you need an Adobe Reader to do that. So or you can do a web. So today, for this presentation, we're going to be using the web. So click on the prepare and submit, and then you will have to agree. So you will come to this screen. You will see the filing instructions, prepare FBAR, finalize FBAR, submit FBAR, and confirm FBAR submission status. So you need to put your filing name. So if you're doing 2025, you have to put submit FBAR 2025. And if you are filing late, you need to select the reason for filing late. If you are filing using the streamlined compliance procedure, for example, you need to choose other. So it will allow you to write the streamlined foreign option procedure in here. And then when you click next, it's going to bring you to where the filer information is going to be put, okay? If you are amending an FBAR, you need to tick this box. Okay, you need to put the year that the FBAR is being filed for. So this is for 2025, for example, and the type of filer, you are an individual. So you will choose individual, and then you need to have your social security number or ITIN, because this mark X red here is going to be a required area that you needed to populate. And then you need to put your US taxpayer identification number once you choose the SSN. And then if you don't have an ITIN, you will need to put the passport, okay? The passport number and the country where it is issued. You will need to put your name, last name, your first name, your middle name, and your individual's date of birth. And on line 9, you need to be putting your foreign address, the country, obviously, if you're living in Australia, the state, and the postal code. Okay, so the line 14 is asking you if you have more than 25 or more financial accounts. If you click yes here, you need to put how many accounts do you have. Okay, if yes, check do not complete part 2 or part 3, but you need to retain records of this information. 14B, does the filer have signature authority over but no financial interest in 25 or more accounts? If you click yes again, you don't need to complete part 4. Okay, so once you complete all this information, you click next, and this is where you're going to be putting the information that you list down. You have to put all the accounts that you own separately on part 2. You can keep on adding account depending on how many accounts that you have. You need to be putting the maximum value. The maximum account value is in US dollar. That's why we need to convert it. Okay. What type of account it is? Is it a bank? Is it securities or is it other? What's the financial institution name? The account number? Remember, I have told you and discussed with you that we need to have all those information. The address, obviously, and the postal code. Okay. If you make a mistake, you can remove the account and then you can go and do it again. Now, the part 3 is where you're going to be reporting all financial accounts that own jointly. So, other than the maximum account value, the type of account, financial institution name, you need to have put the information in relation to the joint owners. Okay, so how many number of joint owners does this account has? Who is the principal joint owner? Okay, if it's an entity, you need to check here. You need also to provide if there's a TIN, EIN, social security number, or foreign TIN in relation to the principal joint owner in here. And obviously, you need to put the taxpayer identification number. Okay, the last name, the first name, and the middle name of the other principal joint owner is needed to be populated also, including their address. So this is part 3. That's where you're going to be adding your financial accounts that own jointly. Part 4 is where you're going to be reporting all the financial accounts that you have signature or other authority, but you don't have a financial interest in the account. So anything that you have a signature authority, you have to be putting in the part 4. Okay, so the information in part 4 is you also require the maximum account value. In some cases, if you are not able to get the highest value, for example, you are a signature authority for your company's account or your employer's account, sometimes they wouldn't want you to know what would be the highest balance. You need to click the unknown in here. These have to be ticked, all right? And then you need to be putting what type of account it is. Obviously, it's a bank account. What's the financial institution name and the account number if you have the information, and also the address of that financial institution. And in here, you need to be putting the name of the owner because you're saying that you're just a signature authority. You don't have a financial interest. So that's why the owner information is needed to be put in here. Now, the part 5 is where the information on financial accounts, if the filer is filing a consolidated report. So because you're filing as an individual, there's no way that you're going to be populating the part 5. This part 5 is for entities that is filing consolidated report in FBAR. Okay, so once you finish that, you're going to just click the next, and then you are not using a third-party preparer. You are actually the one that's preparing it for your own FBAR, so you don't need to populate this portion. Okay, so this is only populated by third party. Okay, because sometimes a third party needs to help you in preparing your FBAR. But if you're the one that's doing it yourself, you don't need to populate this portion. And then this is where the submit is. You're going to put your email address, confirm your email, put your first name, last name, and the phone number. Remember, in the area where you put the information, this filer information here, make sure that they do match. Okay? And then click finalize the FBAR. And then you need to make sure that you tick the I am human here before it allows you to submit your foreign bank account reporting. So it is not very hard. It is actually very easy to use. The only thing that's going to take time is gathering all the information, getting all the information that you require to put in this filing with FBAR FinCEN. So those filer information that's in relation to you, okay? And then the account information, that's where you're going to be filing or reporting or listing down those financial accounts that you own separately. It doesn't matter if it's owned by your own entity, if it's a foreign account, financial account, bank account owned by an entity that you control or own, you have to put it as part of this owned separately here, okay? For those accounts that own jointly, for example, you own jointly with your foreign spouse, this is where you're going to put it in. And then part 3 is where you're going to be putting, part 4 is where you're going to be putting all your signature authority, the bank accounts that you have signature authority. Okay, like what I mentioned earlier on, this part 5 does not belong to an individual, so you don't need to touch this one. All right, then if there is, this is where you're going to do a signature for your, it's only require a signature for third party preparer. Okay, so you don't need to populate this portion as well if you are the one that's preparing the FBAR for yourself. If someone is helping you, obviously they need to put their identity information in here. And then the last portion is where you're going to submit. So hopefully that is of help in relation to your FBAR compliance. And if this video helps you at all, please like and subscribe. And if you need further clarity in relation to your foreign bank account reporting or your US tax filing requirements, you can book a clarity call with us. Email us at hello@usautax.com and we will be happy to help you. Okay, until then, make sure to save the email confirmation from FinCEN in relation to the submission of your FBAR for your future reference.